Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Ravens Across the Pond. The usual suspects join me: DT, Nathan, Richard. How are we, gents?
Yeah, good,
Good
thank
evening.
you.
Very good.
Good, thank you. Very good. How you doing, Tom?
I'm not bad, mate. I'm not bad. It's that time of the year in the UK, isn't it? And that week of the year, it's Traitors Week, where traitors get found out. They might not get found out. Also, we had November the 5th yesterday, Guy Fawkes night. Remember the 5th of November. Gunpowder, Treason, and Plot. And it's also the series finale tonight of Traitors. Richard wants to get off and watch that. So, yeah, with that being said, we'll have a little feature towards the end of the pod, the biggest traitors in the NFL, or betrayals, whichever way you want to go there. We will sit down and swig a few pints with our favourite Ravens to go out with for a drink with. But first, before we get started, let's look ahead to the Vikings game on Sunday, 6 o'clock UK time. The Vikings are coming into this off I don't think many people had them winning against the Lions. JJ McCarthy had a decent game, threw 2 scores in and got another one himself. He did have an interception in that game. You know, going into this game, it's a game where I am fully confident that the Ravens are going to win it. They are a team, the Vikings, that don't protect their quarterback. I think he was sacked 5 times the night against the Lions. And I can see our new trade acquisition getting on the sack board. So I'll hand it over to you guys. What are you thinking for the game? And if somebody wants to dive in and discuss the trade that obviously the Ravens partook in, brought in a guy who instantly leads the Ravens in sacks as we go into this game. Take it away, lads.
So, Draymond Jones has joined the Ravens for a 5th round draft pick that can become a 4th if he gets 2 or more sacks for the end of the season. And the Baltimore Ravens clinch the playoffs. So I think we can all agree that is a 4th round pick well worth spending if he pulls off the goods. 4.5 sacks in his last 4 games prior to joining. The man is in form. He looks very good in one-on-one situations. More importantly, he's helping the Ravens do something that they cannot do very well, which is get pressure when just rushing 4. So hopefully we see a marked improvement. Carl Lawson as well is another player that John Harbaugh is talking about, might be featured in this game. So that's 2 new edge options, which should be able to cause a little chaos. 5 sacks against JJ McCarthy. The Vikings also got 5 sacks in that game against a heavily depleted Detroit Lions line that might actually be worse than ours. So I'm not quite sure what to take away from that Detroit game. The Vikings started with very good field position on a lot of their drives just due to the amount of sacks and pressure they were getting. So can JJ McCarthy go toe-to-toe with Lamar Jackson if it gets to shootout stage? I don't think so. Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason are not on the same level of rushing ability as the King. Major worries obviously land on Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, the 2 very good wide receivers in the Vikings core. So if JJ McCarthy does get going against a secondary which is improving but is lapse for a mistake at any minute, I think it won't be as easy as people are saying it might be, but I still back Lamar and the boys to get this one done.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think we can win this, but I think it's a statement game that we kind of, we know we have to win them anyway. We kind of have to win out. But I thought going into this, I'd be more confident than I am. And that's down to that Lions result, as you say. The Vikings have shown some real ability in that game. And I think this is the game where it will be the definition of whether our defense have turned that corner. They have had some strong plays recently. They had some strong games against some weaker teams, and the Vikings, although potentially are a weaker team than they have been in recent seasons, we know they can put up some numbers. We know they can beat some good teams. So this is where the defense really have to sharpen, actually silence all of the hatred from the start of the season, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
go on. Sorry, Richard.
No, it's fine. I'm excited for the Channel 5 coverage, to be honest. I can't
Said
wait.
Nobody ever.
I can't wait to see Sam Quack and Dermot O'Leary play quarterback coconut shy when they should be doing some game analysis. But yeah, I mean, you have to assume, I mean, JJ McCarthy, where he is in his development curve, not his fault. He spent a lot of time injured. You have to assume that he's basically a rookie, and John Harbaugh led teams have great results against rookie quarterbacks. I mean, as indeed they should. I'm reasonably confident for this game. I think both sides of the ball are starting to click, and I do think that we're just going to overpower them in the style that we thought this team would overpower opponents at the start of the season. Didn't quite manage to do.
Yeah, on JJ McCarthy, I agree with what you said. Obviously, he went down, didn't he? I think the week before the season started last year, and kind of, what did he do? The ACL, was it? His knee? Insane. And I look at him now as a quarterback in this league. His career stats, he's obviously only played this year, 57.6% completion, 444 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's got a passer rating of 73.0. With, obviously, the offensive line, he's definitely gettable. I fully expect our defense to get at him. Also worth noting that with the Vikings, they also are kind of similar to the Ravens, in which they have an injury report that reads like a scribe written by a monk in a priory. But a good portion of them players could step up. Theo Jackson, safety, he was in concussion protocol, and he had symptoms on Monday, but they think he has a chance to play. Tight end Josh Oliver looks like he is going to be doubtful, and obviously the rest of them, Harrison Smith, Blake Brandel, CJ Ham, likely going to be out for the weekend. So again, it's another organisation that is depleted across the board with injuries. The Ravens, again, I think it was either today or yesterday, reported a perfect
full practice, yeah.
Full practice. So, it's a game where I fully expect us to win. I think we're far superior on both sides of the ball. Yeah, who for the Ravens is in line for a big game this week? I know we discussed after the Dolphins game about, Lamar Jackson. Was there a bit of game management there early on to try and get him going? I fully expect Lamar to take the Vikings apart. But are we going to see more from Charlie Kohler this week? Isaiah Likely? Is Bateman going to get more on the ball? Zay Flowers? Who's going to be putting in a standout performance this weekend, do you think?
I think we'll see some big wins in the kind of passing game. So I think that tight end core is going to be a bit tricky for them. I think the Vikings are going to go into that knowing that we've been spreading the ball around a few different players. They're going to be interested to think, okay, where's it going to come from? Where's that pass going to go? Is it going to be over the middle to Zay? Is it going to be some deep balls to Bateman? Is D-Hop going to get involved? We've got 3 tight ends that are all able to catch touchdowns. That's going to be the big ticket, I think, in terms of really confusing the Vikings with some interesting plays. I think their run defense is fairly solid. I think they held Detroit to sort of 60-odd yards last game. Start with the passing game, take their mind off the rushing game, and then just finishing them off, kill the clock at the end with Henry and hopefully some Mitchell yards as well.
Yeah, they do allow 122 yards on the ground a game.
Maybe they turned a corner against the Lions then. I mean, Lions haven't got bad running backs. They've got a good rush game. So.
Lions do have a good rush game, but their offensive line has been absolutely decimated. So you're trying to get Gibbs running a function.
I'm so sorry.
They're so superior. Yeah, we compared to our amazing offensive line, absolutely.
I think our host is experiencing a minor earthquake.
I mean, for those people who are enjoying the podcast in the video format, you'll see not only is Tom having an absolute nightmare, but he's got a very fetching hat on this evening.
Dressed like an Oreo frogman, aren't I? Yeah, no, I wasn't having an earthquake there. So for our viewers and listeners in Japan, kind of experienced a little mini one there. Any tips on how to deal with any future earthquakes? The laptop stand just decided to give way there mid-pod. I do apologise. Carry on.
Going back to what we said about the offensive line, I think our offensive line needs to step up as well. They sacked 5 times last week, the Vikings as well. So Lamar Magic can always evade them, but I want to see some big offensive line play as well to be able to handle that and at least give them some time to get those passes out.
Yeah, and I think on the other side of the ball as well, thinking about the addition of Dre'Mont Jones, you have to hope that's going to open up a pass rushing lane for Mike Green. We've seen him flash over the last couple of weeks, and I wonder if this is where he's going to make, have his first multi-sack game and make a real statement.
That'd be lovely to see.
Word, I do imagine that Jones and Lawson are both going to be on probably snap counts with situational pass rushing downs only. So you'll probably see a defense a bit more like we saw against Miami, which would be lovely because that's a game where we held them to 6. I think obviously Jones's role will expand probably with another full week of practice under his belt, but you'll definitely see him in some pass rush down situations and hopefully he can open up some more lanes. It should give Kyle Hamilton another extra avenue to cause some havoc as well. We've been talking about how since the corner trade we made that he's been able to do a bit more kind of outside of the safety positions. Just any kind of rush we can get with a 4-man front will allow Kyle Hamilton to be able to just cause extra chaos. So it's an
All right, you
interesting
twisted
one.
my arm, Nathan. I'll back the Hamilton sack again. I'll back the Ricard touchdown, and I'll back the Mitchell 50+ yards. We'll do it again. Let's go.
I think you've got to keep rolling on that one until it hits.
Lamar Jackson is coming up against a DC that has had great success in blitzing Lamar Jackson. What do we expect for this game from Brian Flores? And do you think he is going to still have continued success against Lamar? What are we thinking?
If he's been reading his stats recently, he'll know that Lamar Jackson is now one of the best quarterbacks in the league against the blitz. It's an old kind of adage, that thing. So I think if he does attempt it, expect to get burned. I would expect a bit more of a contained approach. And if he does blitz, there's so many people that he can kind of get quick passes off to now in this offense. There's so many options he can try. Ultimately, I'm not sure he'll have the same success. 5 sacks against Jared Goff is one thing. Can you get 5 sacks against Lamar Jackson, a man who is notoriously difficult to bring down? Not so sure.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings are second in the league in blitz percentage, only trailing the Falcons. So the Vikings blitz 43.7% of the time. If you look at Lamar Jackson's, I know we covered the Dolphins game, but just to kind of counteract this blitz, or counteract my own argument, really, what a divvy. Lamar Jackson against the Dolphins versus the blitz was 9 for 11 with 90 yards, 3 touchdowns.
There you go. You can't argue against that. I think Nathan's absolutely correct. I think Lamar did struggle against the blitz, but we've seen him evolve his game every single season, and I think he now understands how to play in those situations.
Yeah, I think talking about the coordinators, there's a stat that I read during the week about the Vikings versus the Ravens. So really interesting stat, this bit of a mad hook. So the Vikings and the Ravens have played each other 7 times. This is a massive game for the Vikings. And the reason for that is the Ravens have won 4 of those games. The Vikings have won 3 of those games. Every time the Vikings have beaten the Ravens, they've gone on to the NFC Championship. That championship game. Every time the Ravens have beaten the Vikings, their head coach has been sacked that season.
Oof.
So talk about a big game for the Vikings. That's every single game. One of those things has happened. Don't imagine that's happened with any other fixture in the NFL in history. So let's see how this plays out.
That's a
Did the Vikings beat us in the season where, what was it? The Diggs got the touchdown against the Saints. Did they beat us in that year? Last minute, last seconds of the playoff game. Come on, Nate. Come on, Nate. Come on.
Last played them in 21 with a 34-31 win. 17, they beat us 24-16.
That year. I mean, Nathan, come on.
I mean, this is
riveting content. This is
riveting listening for everyone.
This is absolutely
music while
incredibly
Nathan gets his
niche.
facts together.
Listeners, if you turn on Radio 4 now, you'll just get the 2000 shipping forecast for movements coming out of Plymouth and Exmouth.
That's normally Richard's gig, isn't it? He can't be doing both at the same time, surely.
Well, absolutely. Viking, 40s, all the rest of the Fitzroy.
I don't know. Have we just bored listeners? Have we just lost a couple of listeners there with that little lull?
So essentially, DT, what you're saying is Kevin O'Connell needs to get his CV up to date because the Vikings aren't winning on Sunday, which means that he's gone at the end of the season.
They've had a terrible start to the season, given where they were the last couple of seasons. They've been quite strong teams. They've been, some people even call them for the Super Bowl. It's a pretty terrible season. So when we beat them, it's not unreasonable to think that it may happen again.
They have had issues with quarterback again, haven't they?
There's always an excuse. But yes, they have.
You should know about excuses being a Cardiff fan. Anyway,
Well, that's true.
Score predictions for this one, guys.
I'm going to take your stick of saying we're going to hold them to 6. I'll let you do that one again this week. I reckon we can put 30 points on this team, and I don't think they're going to be particularly inspiring. So 31-14 Ravens win.
I've been saying that it's going to be a tough game, but I'm still going for a bit of a blowout. I'm going 38-10. Ravens win.
Yeah,
Jackson 5 incoming.
I'm going 44-14 Ravens win.
Right, so
We're going to
between
look fucking
Richard,
terrible, aren't we? When it's
between Richard and DT, you've both got my score. I've gone 44-10 Ravens.
okay, close
Yeah.
game all round.
Yeah, close game. It'll be
One for the
thrilled to watch.
purists.
Yeah, Sunday, 6 o'clock.
Good
We're
news
doing
for
a
Rich,
pod.
and if it is a blowout, Channel 5 are going to be having to really, get Dermot on doing all of his shtick because no one's going to watch a blowout.
Well, my favourite UK-based NFL presenter, not.
I mean, I don't. Do you know what? I don't mind Dermot only when he does Radio 2 and other presenting duties. But I mean, I know he's played NFL, American football. Sorry, growing up and through his teens and early 20s, and he is a big fan. Give him his flowers. However, he was on TalkSport on the commute home today. An extremely long day, hectic day, and listening to Dermot O'Leary when I'm on the motorway coming home. The central reservation was looking more appealing. He could bring a tear to a glass eye. So,
Sorry, Dermot, if you're listening.
sorry, Dermot. If you want to come on. That's one guest ticked off, not coming on. See you later. Like that. Should have remember what the Americans had, like, obviously after the terrible events in 2001, and they put everybody on a deck of cards. We should have shit UK NFL hosts or influencers. Bang them on. Sam Quirk, Ace of Spades. Your head is on there, love. He's a Liverpool fan as well. Instantly dislike her.
There goes the
I was wondering where this
Liverpool
came
and the
from.
Chiefs.
Someone's
What
got
did
to,
you say?
haven't they?
She's good at hockey, though, so that's fine.
Yeah, Josh will be a big fan of her. Josh, if you listen.
Exactly.
Right, it's that time of the week again where we discuss all things fantasy, nightmares for a few of us this week across our leagues. I know DT had a horrendous weekend. I had an outstanding weekend. I am in the final four of a Supporters Club League Cup. So me and Jake are representing Division 5 in the Ravens UK League in the Cup. Both of us could be in the final. Nathan, pull up a pew, take us through Fantasy Flock Up.
Welcome, friends. It's once again time to hand out some bourbons, and we've got something a little bit different coming in at number 5 this week because I had no idea what to do with this game. So number 5 is the cast of 2025 feature-length comedy Bears at Bengals. What an absolute calamity this game was. Defense, none of them they weren't there. They didn't want to be interviewed after the game. I didn't even see them on the field, to be honest. There was probably the highest number of people in this game scoring over 15 points in fantasy than I think I've ever seen in any single game on record. Caleb Williams, 38.7, setting a record, by the way, historic record, for most receiving points scored by a wide receiver, by a quarterback ever in the history of fantasy football. So who would have thought that Caleb Williams would have been a record breaker last week? Joe Flacco, once again, doing Joe Flacco things, 470 yards, 29.7. Carl Monongai, Chase Brown, DJ Moore, Olamide Zacchaeus, T. Higgins, Andrea Shivas, Jamar Chase, Colston Loveland, breakout game for him, by the way, 6 receptions, 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. The only person that didn't score points in this game, Roma Dunze. Me and Tom played each other last week in a redraft match. I lost by 4 points. Roma Dunze put up a giant 0 in my lineup. So thanks, Roma Dunze. In a game where they were literally handing out points for free, you were not able to do anything.
Is there not another part to that story as well about that defeat, Nathan? That you're not failing to tell, that you're failing to.
What you mean? Where I told you to set your lineup half an hour before the game started,
and 2 minutes before we went on a podcast,
and 2 minutes before we did the recap of last week's game. Yes, so an absolute shambles by Roma Dunze. But if you had any of these Bears or Bengals players, you were absolutely laughing all the way to the.
I traded for I've received Roma Dunze in a trade this week.
And Tom, I'll correct you, actually. I didn't have a shocker last week. I actually beat none other than Roller himself, thanks mainly to Joe Flacco being in my team, which Richard laughed at me when I drafted Joe Flacco. He was laughing. He put in the chat, some shocking pick going on here. And straight away, 40 points week 1. Screw you, Richard, and screw you, Roller.
I claimed Joe Flacco off waivers the other week in the shocking official NFL fantasy app, and he's been superb for me since. So, who's in at number 4?
I was just before we go to number 4, just another shout out to shockers. I don't want to keep beating up on the Bengals much more, but DJ Moore had a rushing attempt where the officiating crew had him down at the 1 yard line. The Bengals then tried to challenge the spot of that 1 yard line to try and gain a bit of ground back. And then upon the officiating, they actually worked out that he got the ball over the pylon and had to overturn it for a touchdown. So not only did the Bengals lose a challenge flag, they also shipped 6 points, which is absolutely just shambolic. And
In a week where
basically
John
tells you
Harbaugh
where-
finally wins a challenge flag, the Bengals absolutely destroy themselves with one. Gotta
it was
love it.
hilarious to watch. Anyway, number 4, Rico Dowdle. Has the RB controversy in Carolina been sorted now? I think so. Chuba Hubbard had to ride the bench as Rico Dowdle got over 72% of the snaps. He went for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the biggest controversy of this game is on his second touchdown celebration, he was flagged by the horrendous NFL for 2 pumps. Now, anyone that's watched Key and Peele and Hingle McCringleberry knows that 2 pumps is perfectly acceptable, and it's the third one that gets the flag. So Rico Dowdle will have a biscuit and my sympathies, because that 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty was absolute nonsense.
One for the gents here. I've never experienced a third pump.
Neither's my wife.
Moving swiftly on. No
They're getting
Scatterboo,
cancelled.
no Cam Scatterboo, no problem for Jackson Dart, who comes in at number 3 this week. 2 passing touchdowns and 1 on the ground, as he's keeping the vibes in Big Blue immaculate. Even if they aren't finding ways to win these games, he is very exciting. He's a very good fantasy quarterback, but Rich, is he actually a good quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to expect him to have some rookie errors. But yeah, he looks really calm under pressure. He certainly looks better than Cam Ward. And I mean, you can't necessarily argue he's got a better supporting cast anymore with Neighbours going down and Scatterboo going down. But yeah, I mean, I would be tremendously happy at this point if I was a Giants fan. I think it seems to me that very, very early days, but yeah, I think they probably have found their future.
So, because I've got him in a couple of dynasty leagues after the last rookie draft, and he's performing exceptionally well as my QB.
As long as your dynasty's all right, Nathan.
Yeah,
That's what it's all
Nathan.
about. Coming in at number 2, he missed last week, but Drake London back with a bang. 3 touchdowns, 118 yards. It was another very sad Falcons loss. To the Patriots, the Falcons must get absolutely horrible PTSD anytime they see New England nowadays. But Drake London will be keeping his fantasy owners happily. DT, Drake London, he's having a good year.
Yeah, good year. Even better game week this week. First game week, scoring multi-touchdowns, and he does it with a little bit of flurry and getting 3 touchdowns. I think he caught 9 of 14, and I think he was well over 10 yards per catch on every one of those. You know, the Falcons are middling slightly this season, but a little bright spark in that is Drake London, and he must have been annoyed because he caught the touchdown that could have put them level towards the end of the game, only for Parker Romo to miss the extra point, and they never quite caught up that deficit at all. So if you're Drake London, if you pitch yourself in fantasy, that's probably the best thing about your own performance, really, because the Falcons aren't doing you justice.
Very unforgiving league, because Parker Romo is subsequently. That's what happens when you miss extra points. Moving on to number 1 this week, this man did not get to take part in Brocktober, a month that he christened himself. It's Brock Bowers, 49.3 points this week, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Raiders just shipped Jacoby Myers off to Jacksonville. There is no one else who is going to get volume in this Raiders offense going forward. So, Tom, how high is the limit for Brock Bowers right now?
It's phenomenal. He is tight end 1 in the fantasy league. Quite after he scored 49.3 points this week, because that kind of coincides with what age he looks as well. He's the oldest looking 21-year-old I've ever seen. To coin a phrase that we use in the UK, was his fucking paper round uphill. Like, I'd love to know where his paper round was. Look, he's phenomenal. Obviously, that trade that the Raiders made earlier on this week he is just going to see he's just going to see the ball every single snap, isn't he? Really. So I'm really happy. I've got him in 3 leagues. Scored me points in 2. Didn't score me points in a third because I forgot about that league and he was on my bench. So yeah, it is what it is. But we move. Yeah, no, he is phenomenal. And I'm intrigued as to see how he goes the rest of the season, what points he can put up, and then going forward. What's he in his second year? Do we see him being a Raider in 3 years' time?
I don't think we're going to be able to afford him the way that, we're
No,
not
not
a
us.
team.
I said Raider.
Oh, okay.
I thought you said Raven.
I also thought you
No,
said
I
Raven.
said no. Right, I will edit this and we will see this. I said Raider, like Tomb Raider. Lara Croft.
Tomb Raven. What's that? I've never heard that game.
Fuck off.
Possibly.
No,
I don't see who the Raiders are going to be able to pay in 3 years' time based on their current roster. So
I think the only
someone's got to
thing
get the money.
the only thing that you might argue, which will go against him, he will be relatively affordable on franchise tags given his tight end designation. I think there's a world exists where they basically franchise tag him twice, and they have all of that leverage over him. So yeah, he may well end up signing a long-term extension there, but we all know he will be the highest paid tight end in the league.
2 years and
Potentially 2 tags.
franchise tag. So yeah, he's locked down there for at least 4 years. And that's assuming the Raiders don't go like 1-9 next season and do a fire sale and someone comes up and pays a first or maybe 2 firsts for him, a la Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming. Absolutely nobody saw that coming. The best thing about that trade is, and obviously the other trade that the Jets made that day, is it's going to be fucking excellent to see them monumentally cock up the amount of picks they have in the draft this year and next year. So many firsts, so many seconds, and I am all for it. It's comedy value.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out ex-Raven here, Brandon Stevens, who clearly has become the undisputed cornerback 1 in New York, forcing out Sauce Gardner. What a result.
It's Paul Cloak. He's got no one to actually play defense with after the fire sale the Jets had. He's going to be playing in 7 different positions.
Cannot wait to see them just absolutely waste 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years or whatever they've ended up with now. They just don't draft well, do they? I mean, it's going to be
Did
interesting.
they do anything well?
They're going to be the
Did
Jets
they do
for
anything well?
many, many years to come. I'm sure of it.
It'll be interesting. Just on that, do we? I mean, we need to get Phil on, possibly next week or the week after, to discuss obviously college ball and the draft and potential QB rankings and market in the draft. Do we see the Jets drafting a QB, or do we see them using a couple of those picks to trade for a franchise quarterback, giving them an extension and locking them down?
I think they will draft a QB. They are obviously in the dogfight for the number 1 overall position. I think obviously the advantages a rookie QB contract gives you if you manage to hit on one is immutable. And, realistically, if they take a swing this year and miss, as sad as that is, they've then got 2 firsts in the 27 draft to be able to get themselves in position to take another one. So yeah, I do see them swinging in the draft as opposed to trading for one.
Also, an honourable mention to Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. What the fuck were they doing with that trade? They had the first-round pick off the Packers and their own first-round pick, and they sent their own first-round pick.
I mean, it's roster management, but it's also Jerry Jones, who probably doesn't know what day of the week it is right now. So it's par for the course in Dallas.
Well, he announced a trade yesterday. He announced a trade, and then it took 12 hours for it to actually come to fruition who it was.
All for it to be Logan Wilson, the only defense that's worse than the Cowboys. Pick up a guy from Cincinnati.
What I don't understand in this business is I suppose there is a financial element to it in terms of contract value, but you gain 2 firsts for your star pass rusher, and then a few months later ship off a first and a second for a pass rusher who isn't as good. I just don't understand that logic at all.
There is no logic to it. That's
Yeah,
just
it's
them all
Jerry
over,
Jones.
isn't it?
I mean, I'd look at there's many organisation across all sports there where I'd love to be a fly on the wall and like in the decision making room.
While we're
Like,
on the, I was to say, while we're on the Cowboys, I think obviously we should take a moment to mention the incredibly sad news today, and obviously passing of Marshall Nealand. Not much details around what's happened, but 24 years of age, guy's just come off scoring his first defensive touchdown of his career in the game this week. Incredibly sad news. So obviously want to take the moment to mention that and send thoughts out to the club, the fans, his family and friends and everyone that knew him.
Thanks, DT. Yeah, very, very nice words.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never nice, and teams mid-season that lose players and like the effects it has on them and like the whole organisation. So yeah, thoughts with obviously everybody there. Thanks, DT. I was just about to go into ripping the Cowboys a little bit more.
Well, let's hope that at least they're a decent organisation and they're providing the support the team might need. The one good thing they can do is provide some of those guys with some support, because it's not something that's often talked about.
No,
certainly
absolutely not. And I think the statement that came out kind of indicates that it wasn't. Yeah, it was his choice. I'll just say. So anyway, as I was saying, a fly on the wall in many organisations. Number one would be in the draft room of Eric DaCosta during his first draft in 2019. Like to understand the thinking behind some of them fucking picks. But also every single meeting that Jerry Jones parts, I think you could write a soap opera on it. Like, I mean, what's that famous soap opera in America about the oil family?
Dallas.
Like
really hard to work that one out.
I'm not well. Walk off.
Tom is firing on all cylinders tonight, folks.
Honestly, I'm flagging like Joe Flacco with cramp. Right. So we're going to move on to. We had the discussion about Ravens that you'd want to go out for a drink with, and we were trying to come up with like fancy names. DT came up with, what was it? Touchdown
Tipples
with a T. Nathan, what did you come up with?
Just pub chat, I think it was. I did not have a sense. Well, I've got the fantasy flocked up corner now. It's someone else's turn to name a segment.
So I've
pigskin pints.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of took it upon myself to name this section. So we're obviously going to talk about Ravens players that we'd enjoy to go out on the piss with. So I'd like to welcome you into our bar and join our new feature, Ravens players you'd like to go on the piss with. Richard, no, in fact, I'm going to save you till last. DT, give us your Raven, whether it's past or present, or Raven no longer with us, and reasons why you want to go out on the piss with him.
Absolutely. I'm sure people who listen to the pod would be expecting me to say Pat Ricard here, and obviously I'd absolutely love a pint with Pat Ricard. Going to go a little bit left field on this one. I'm going to go with someone who, a past Raven, wasn't with us for a long time, wasn't drafted by us, but boy, did he make a presence in my eyes, and that's Mark Ingram II. Mark Ingram II was one of the biggest characters that we have had as a team in many, many years. Exactly. He's going to be the guy that's just has a few beers. He's going to be shouting about the bar in a positive way. There is no negativity with that guy. It's pure positivity. It could be 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You could be 15 pints deep, and he's still going with the energy. There's the clip of him introducing introducing Lamar with the "Nobody Cares, Work Harder" t-shirt. I can imagine you'd be in the pub. Richards would have had one too many. He's going to be flagging on the whiskies a little bit, and Mark Ingram will bring him another little whiskey over, and Richard will be like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe I can't do it," and he'll be like, "No, nobody cares, Richard. Drink harder," and that's why he'd be a bloody fantastic guy to grab a pint with.
Richard and whiskey, that is a conversation for another pod, because it's outstanding, Richard. It's such a phenomenal moment in our conversations when we know that Richard is getting on the whiskey. It's like the pilot flicks and you hear that bong, there's seatbelts on, entering a bit of turbulence here.
Maybe when we
Yeah.
make the playoffs and it's a big comeback for the season, we'll have a little boozy episode. Maybe. Let's see.
I would love that. DT on the gin and Dubonnet.
Sound like Del
I'll
Boy
get
there.
someone to bring them into me as we come. Just get the butler in, you know.
Nathan, so it's your round.
I went for someone who I have seen many times on Ravens Wired, which is a fantastic show on the Ravens YouTube channel. Anytime after a Ravens win, he is incredibly hyped for anything a Baltimore Raven player does. I'm going with defensive end Brent Urban. If you've watched any of the the Ravens Wired videos during a win, he doesn't play a lot of snaps, which means that he's pretty much predominantly on the sideline and usually gets wired up, which means that you always get to hear some of his tidbits and like mannerisms during the games. And he is just incredible. The level of like passion he's got, and also means he's going to have all the stories because he's on the sideline for most of the game. So he knows what's going on with the offense, going on with the defense, going on with special teams. He's going to be good for at least 10 amazing stories that you wouldn't even hear from anyone else. And he just seems like so unbelievably passionate. And of course, it helps that he's like 6'8", 280 pounds. So, he's going to be able to put a fair few away. So that's what you want in a good drinking buddy, someone that can handle it. And I reckon he's got to be good for at least 10 good stories. So yeah, Brent Urban's my pick.
I reckon he gets picked up by Michael Pierce at the end of the night as well. So there's a bonus there.
Yeah, you get 2-in-1.
One of them, Rich. Is it Earl Thomas III?
Not quite.
His brother.
I've taken inspiration from Todd Monken. I've gone deep in my bag for this one. So I've gone for 1998 starting quarterback Jim Harbaugh, because who's going to have a better pint than us? Right.
Jesus Christ.
Doing it.
That one.
Fuck's sake.
No, but I think, right, Jim Harbaugh, that night could go anywhere. You're going to start off having a quiet beer and you're going to end up on like a private jet to Las Vegas. And you're going to wake up in the morning with no recollection of what's gone on. And there's going to be like some kind of like tiger in your room. I might have stolen the plot of a film there. But no,
Jesus
but it's...
Christ. I'll cross off Zach Galifianakis and a Two Ferns collaboration then as well. So far
Richard
today,
be
we
the-
lost Sam Quirk, Dermot O'Leary, and Zach Galifianakis and Two Ferns. Jesus Christ, Richard.
No,
Can Richard be the one? If that is the plot, can Richard be the one we leave on the roof, please?
this might be, honestly, you might need to cut that whole segment out. That could be...
No, it's staying in. It's staying in because I couldn't imagine waking up with a stinking hangover. You've been out on the ale all night with Jim Harbaugh, and you wake up and you've got a banging headache. You need a couple of aspirin, and then you just hear like a quiet voice coming from the ends of the bed, and you've got fucking Jim Harbaugh, fucking reading out Matthew 4:13, and you're like, listen, Jim, I've got a banging headache here, mate. I do not need you praying in here. Do me a favour, tell me about the sign stealing scandal instead, because that is more entertaining. Rich, you couldn't have like.
It's fine.
No
No
one
bless
would
us
have
to have no hangover.
No one could have predicted Richard to pick someone like that, but also at the same time, they could have. He's such an enigma. Right, so final round of the night. I'm getting the shots in before we all go home. I've gone for a hero of mine, probably the biggest Raven legend of all time, the greatest middle linebacker of all time. Gone none other than Ray Lewis, 52. I just think it'd be phenomenal. I think the night could go so many ways. I think you could just be sat there, brandy, cigar, chilling, just vibing, listening to some of the stories. But I also think it could go off the scales. And I think he'd come in handy for when you're trying to get home and you're absolutely legless, to have that team talk. Like, imagine him, like, walking behind you, all the dogs in the house, or, you're playing a man's game, you're playing killer pool and a boozing, and he's just looking at you, trying to psych you out, going, you're playing a man's game tonight, and you're like, I just think he'd be superb. I just think he'd have so many stories, and I also want to find out if if Goose did ever get his restitution, or Shannon Sharp, sorry, if Shannon Sharp ever did get his restitution from being locked away by Goose in the 2002 pre-season. What was that? What's the show? Hard Knocks. Yeah, I just think he'd have so many stories. He can motivate you to do anything.
Going back to just that Hard Knocks reference, I remember there's a section in that show where Todd Heap is a rookie and they're asking him his signing bonus, and he's like, or they're asking him his contract, and he's like, 4 years, 6 million. And they're all going mental at like how high the number is. And now when you look at the salaries they receive, even a few years ago, Flacco's 20 million contract, just completely blown out the water now, isn't it?
And that, for people watching at home, is a man confused by the concept of inflation.
All right, nerd.
That's rich coming from Richard. That's a wild call, that is.
Well,
Definitely
we haven't had any more.
Tom.
Nobody's asked us about any more tanks, have they? So it's been a struggle.
That'd be a new segment.
You can keep your tanking to yourself. Honourable mention for me, L. Thomas III, because I just want to know why. Just why.
He's the guy that's probably just in the bar on his own in the corner, and you go up to him when you're absolutely pissed, and you got full confidence then, like, just to ask him.
I just want to, just why? Why? Just one of them.
A side note for this, I was going to pick Eric Weddle, and then I found out via research that he was a Mormon. So Eric Weddle has great vibes, but obviously would not be great vibes in a bar.
This is not
Fuck a Mormon. Outstanding play.
I have to say,
they don't drink.
I have to say though, when we do our section on which Raven would you like to go for ice cream with, he might prove a popular pick.
And then we know the podcast has really gone downhill.
As I mentioned earlier on in the show, in the introduction, it's Traitors Week. Obviously, Guy Fawkes. It's the Traitors season finale tonight. So, as a little added bonus, we are going to discuss or name our biggest betrayals or traitors in the NFL in history. So, I'm going to start us off with this one. I'm going to go Michael Vick. It's more of a betrayal. It's not like he was at the Falcons and then it was the Falcons, wasn't it? Falcons and then moved on somewhere else. Michael Vick, up until Lamar Jackson came into the league, was the greatest dual threat quarterback in my opinion. If it wasn't for his scandals and what happened, obviously he was arrested for dogfighting. I think he did 23 months in prison. Managed to get out.
Yeah, fair point.
I mean, I probably would have had Brett Favre was a close second there as well. But I can't be arsed wasting my breath talking about him.
We're talking big betrayals in NFL history. I can't see how you can go anywhere else but Robert Irsay. Robert Irsay, the man who was behind the stealing of the Baltimore Colts to Indianapolis and stealing the history, stealing the titles, stealing everything. Other people in non-Ravens fandom might then try and argue about Art Modell, but Robert Irsay did it first. Robert Irsay, for me, is NFL's biggest traitor. He packed up overnight like the coward that he is, stole the team, stole the titles, and did it all. So that's mine.
Go on, Richard. Give us
I'm gonna go with the referees over the last couple of seasons, throwing all those flags to help the Chiefs. So they've been traitors to sporting integrity.
Another classic Richard response.
Quick and to the point. Funny enough, your pupils wish you were quick and to the point in classes.
I'm going to stick to some sort of theme that I've had in a few of these episodes of going with a controversial take here. And I hope we're not going to lose any listeners. We may lose one particular listener in Liam, or he may demand to come on this show and absolutely lambast me for the next episode. But I'm going to call out Joe Flacco.
He is in the process of suing the show as well, don't forget, for inflammatory lies that were thrown around last week by myself about him.
Well, Liam's going to have an issue with this one as well. So I would like to say I'll apologise, Liam, because I know he's your boy. But I'm going to call out Joe Flacco just because, any player that's going to play for 3 different teams in the same division that's a traitor right there. And I know he's got his reasons. I'm happy for him to get his game time. He's still doing bits at his age, and fair play to him. But just can't overlook it. You can't overlook someone who plays for multiple different divisional rivals. That's the definition of a traitor right there. Even if he's doing it, and maybe he's letting us win on the side. Hopefully that happens later in the season. But have to call it out.
Could you imagine if Joe Flacco ever got the Grand Slam?
That is when Liam would. I think even Liam would have to give up every poster he's got of him all over his bedroom wall.
Yeah, I think they're pretty stuck onto the walls, knowing how Liam feels about Joe Flacco. Honourable mention for me on Traitor, and I don't know how anybody else hasn't picked him up. Bill Belichick signed with the Jets as their manager. A day later, resigned. Goes up to New England, and we all know what happened up there. So, yeah, honourable mentions for him. Right, that is about us. Thank you to everybody who's been listening, leaving positive comments. Even the negative ones, they come in handy. We know what to work on. All of the likes, the follows on TikTok, Instagram, Ravens across the pond, across all of them. Thank you very much. Anything to add, guys, before we go?
No, let's do it. Let's beat these Vikings.
Yeah, you can expect an absolute meltdown next episode, given all of the predictions if we don't get this done. So,
yeah, no, it'll just be cancelled. I'll just take the pod off here.
Full Chernobyl.
Yeah, full nuclear power plant meltdown. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody. I've been Thomas. They've been DT, Nathan, and Richard together. We have been Ravens across the pond. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, everyone.
See you later, guys.